Good morning, listener. You're welcome to another edition of this program, Sunlight Gists, on Heritage Radio 104.9 FM. I'm Akpan Salomi Samuel, your favorite anchor. Now we will be discussing on human rights and its applicability in Nigeria. Stay tuned as we go for break. Welcome back to Discussion in Details. The fundamental human rights are the basic national rights which are essential for human existence, and every citizen is entitled to them and is expected to enjoy them in full, without hindrance or discrimination. Life will become very unpleasant for the citizen if they are not granted. These rights are natural and also inherent in man and cannot be taken away. In Nigeria, these fundamental human rights as citizens should enjoy are written in Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 99 as amended. These rights include right to life, right to freedom of movement, right to freedom of expression, right to peaceful assembly and association, right to private and family life, and so on. These human rights continue in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, articulated by the United Nations Organization, UNO, in 1984, and are entrenched in the Constitution of all member states. The government of the day in Nigeria should try her best on human rights operation in this country, even though it may be certain circumstances and situations that it's difficult for human rights to operate fully. Let's go to the applicability stroke work. The applicability and workability of human rights in Nigeria. Currently, in this country, there are limitations of human rights. The following are some limitations of human rights: emergency situation periods, time of uncertainty and tension, which is a lot of things happening affecting human rights. When there is outbreak of war, people are forced out to their homes. Refugee camps in when there is outbreak of war, people are forced out of their homes to refugee camps in order to safeguard their lives and property. When there is outbreak of war, people are forced of their homes to refugee camps in order to safeguard their lives and properties. Live outbreak of violence, Boko Haram in northern Nigeria, where people are confined in a refugee camp. Their rights to freedom of movement and rights to private and family life has been tampered with. There are advice to stay indoors to avoid riots and other disturbance. Let's go for break. Let's go for break. In period of emergency, such as riots or violence, a dog still done curfew is imposed, for instance, in just during the time of violence and in Kano as a result of bombings. Others are Ikotekpene, Okanafo in Akwa Ibom states, Southern Kaduna and Lagos. This situation have resulted in many deaths. This is limitation of human rights. In some situations, security oppressive. In some situations, security operatives are brought into the affected areas and their presence at times can be quite unpleasant. Sometimes soldiers and policemen harass and intimidate people unnecessarily. Human rights do not operate at such times. In the course of arresting a suspect, some policemen or soldiers beat, torture, or detain the person. This is limitation of human rights, being innocent until a person is proved guilty in the court of law. There are lack of freedom of speech in this country, especially during emergency situation. Some speech are turned into a hate speech. Fear grips people and they cannot express their way they feel. When this is breakdown, a law and other people may kill, especially in political arena, which violates the rights of life. Ancient tradition, customs, some communities, groups still held tenaciously to some old practice which violate the rights of a person. Some engage in some burial practice, like forcing a woman to jump over the corpse of her late husband, which the corpse were buried. There are equally some widow practice that violate the rights of a human. Ancient tradition, customs, some communities, groups still held tenaciously to some old practice which violate the rights of a person. Some engage in some burial practice, which forcing a woman to jump over the corpse of her late husband, which the corpse of... Oh God, where is the problem now? Burial practice, like forcing a woman to jump over corpse of her late husband, which the corpse were buried. There are equally some widows. There are equally some widows practicing that violate the. There are equally some widow practices that violate the rights of a woman, such as dispossessing her of her husband's property or shaving her hair without her consent. This is the limitation of human rights to private. There are equally some widow practices that violate the rights of a woman, such as dispossessing her hair of her husband's property or shaving her hair without her consent. This is limitation to the human rights of privacy and the dignity of the human person. During some emergency periods, Fulani herdsmen render a lot of people homeless and their property destroyed, and some lost their lives. Some commit all types of crimes such as rape, looting and harassing, burning people's homes and places of worship, like the case of Makurdi in Benue State, where bullets were fired into Catholic church during church service. 2 reverend fathers and other worshippers were reduced to lumps of flesh and blood. Some residential houses were set ablaze at night after the occupants had gone to bed, like the case of Bauchi and Anambra states. In summary, human rights abuses can be seen in various streets of Nigeria, a country. The test of human rights policy of a country is during times of emergency. Here in Nigeria, human rights are not only being violated during emergency periods, but other times. The way out: every citizen of this country must be made to see human rights violation as a wrong and error. It is wrong acts of humanity and an error in governments and society. It is wrong acts of humanity and error in governments and societal system. This is a serious need to decry this wrong and error. Without human rights, life will be still very unpleasant to the citizen of this country.
Talk now.
Thank you. See you same time, same station next week. I still remain Akpan Salomi Samuel.